Welcome back, and we're having a very interesting conversation with Sonia Choquette. Before the break, we're talking about how to bring our spirit back into our body. And we spoke about breathing, singing, moving.
Right.
Yeah.
Those are three things that are really pretty effective. In fact, Albert Einstein was asked once how he discovered the theory of relativity. And he said, I wasn't looking for it. I was listening to music and singing, and the whole thing dropped into my head.
Okay, downloaded.
So when you're in your spirit, your heart opens. And then you become receptive to being inspired. You become receptive to guidance. Many people say, I don't hear my guidance, I don't know left from right, I don't know, how do I know? But my first question to them is, well, how guidable are you? Because your intuition is subtle, and it's not going to fight or compete with your controlling intellect. So now we have to figure out what to do with our controlling intellect. You don't want to get rid of it. It's your faithful servant. But it has to serve the spirit. So I think a really effective way is to consider your personality, your ego, like your pet, your beloved pet.
Well, that's an interesting
Well, you can love your pet, but you have to train your pet.
Yeah.
You have to train your pet to sit down and be quiet and listen, behave.
Depends on your pet.
Right, because if your pet's out of control, poops all over your house, you're not gonna enjoy your pet.
And people often say the pet runs the household.
Right. So if your pet's running the household, you can be sure that your spirit is also being chased away. So I say one of the ways to train your pet is to meditate. And you know, that word is still extremely intimidating to people. People don't like that word, actually, because that means an assignment that's bigger than I can succeed.
So how would you?
So I say, first of all, let's frame meditation correctly.
Okay.
It's like having a drink at the well. It's just a temporary pause in your mental chaos to relax and step out of the theater of life and regroup. And one of the best ways to meditate, and a quick way to meditate, here's a very quick, effective way to meditate. Well, first let's back up a minute. Meditation, the goal of meditation is to bring you to your spirit and bring you to present time.
Yes.
Your emotional self lives in the past. Your mental self lives in the future.
Okay.
And you can't create or be intuitive in the past or the future. You can only be creative and you can only be intuitively guided in the moment.
In the present moment, yep.
So a very quick, easy, simple way to meditate yourself back to the moment is a form of mindful meditation where you just take a look around, and as you breathe, you start naming what you see.
Okay.
You name it. You can't just think it, though. You can say, I see a beautiful brown sofa. I see a beige pillow. I see your lovely aubergine pants. I see your necklace. I see my gray dress. And you just do that for 3 minutes. And when you're finished, you'll be completely present. Your mind will be quiet, your pet will be sleeping, and your spirit will be present. And you can then put your hand over your heart and say, now my intuition says, and it will speak.
And it's there.
It's so simple.
When you word it that way, it is so simple.
And it's a technique that will not fail anybody. So my whole purpose in life is to give you techniques and tools that will work. Your intuitive spirit should be leading your life. It is really not natural that it isn't. You know, you think about birds have radar, and whales have sonar. They can cross oceans, and monarch butterflies can fly from one continent to the next and back and end up exactly where they left. Why not us? Why would we be any less capable of having an inner guidance system that is perfect for our greatest flowering, our greatest potential fulfillment, our greatest creative expression. And for us to treat it as something weird or unnatural is perhaps one of our most devastating decisions.
Mm-hmm. And the most that separates.
Well, I say
us
to
from
people,
the divine and each other.
honestly, if you lost every one of your senses, but your intuition worked, you'd be okay. But if you had every sense and your intuition was dormant, I wouldn't be so sure. And one of my favorite examples of that is Helen Keller.
Why?
Because she had lost all her senses. She couldn't see, she couldn't speak, she couldn't hear. She barely had the capacity to sense and feel, and yet by following and expressing her spirit, she became one of the most inspirational people of all time and touched the world.
I didn't realize she'd lost most of them.
Yes.
Okay.
Most everything.
Wow.
So I think it's time for us to begin to wake up. We've been dumbed down. To begin to re-educate ourselves about our intuition and to move out of the dark ages and the witch burnings and all the other crazy ideologies that people have been subjected to, and begin to re-embrace our natural wisdom as a divine right. And frankly, I think we should use it as our first sense, not our sixth sense.
I agree. Where do you think we are then as a species on this planet?
Well, here's where I think. Basically, the ratio right now is about 22% sixth sensory, 78% five sensory. However,
Yeah.
we don't have to get to 100% to be okay. We only have to get to 51% because of the laws of the tipping point. When there are 51% of us human beings operating from the paradigm of spirit, it's contagious. We influence one another energetically. And so just the people watching this show right now, if they made that decision to reconnect with their spirit, to start listening to their authentic inner voice and trusting it, to being spontaneous and give up control, do you know that that is enough numbers of people to bring us to the tipping point? It doesn't take a lot.
And it's actually quite simple, isn't it?
Absolutely.
At the end of the day.
And it's contagious.
Hundredth
Human
monkey.
beings, we are definitely responsive beings, and for everyone who's operating at a sixth sensory vibration, it's a higher frequency. It's more positive, it's happier, it's more creative, your heart opens, your blood pressure goes down, your joy comes up. So you can just be walking through a room and start jump-starting that for those around you. And it's inevitable. It's the natural way.
I absolutely. Well, it's going back to who we are, isn't it? It's reclaiming.
And it's reclaiming the feminine.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, I'm not talking about reclaiming women, because we're all a balance of male, female, but it's reclaiming our feminine side. It's reclaiming our connection to the earth. And here's the best thing about being sixth sensory. In the five sensory paradigm, when you work out of the ego, you work out of a paradigm that's fearful, because the ego will always be insecure. It will never be loved enough. It will never be safe enough. It will never be secure enough.
Oh, it sounds so...
It won't.
Poor thing.
The ego won't.
Oh.
The ego will never, ever, ever be secure enough to give up control.
So it's like that demanding pet,
Right.
little child or whatever.
But the minute you go to your spirit, you're always comfortable. You're always safe. You're not seeking approval because you know you're divine. So your heart can open and you can become loving and generous. So the paradigm of the ego is me against you. And the paradigm of the spirit is me and you. And in the physical body, me against you is called cancer. And so we six sensories who come to say there's no them, there's just us. Just because there's only one spirit, just like there's only one fire. We're all spirit, you and I. And the minute you begin to connect with that, you're not afraid anymore. So you don't have to keep up your defenses and manage and control. You can actually pay attention to what's in front of you, and your heart can open, and you can begin to enjoy and experience the beauty and the love and the positivity of the planet. And that's our natural design. And so I think our time has come. I really do. I think it's time for six sensory awareness to be mainstreamed. And that's my mission. That's what I've been doing for 35 years, or better, actually, a little more. But it is what we are here to do.
Well, it's also what Conversations with Robyn is about.
Right.
Absolutely part of that. We'll take another break, and we'll come back and find out more about Sonia's personal journey to why she does what she does in the world. Stay with us.